I finally find out why do I need this little knob on my tripod for my landscape photos. Let's assume that it's on a side and you have an inclined plane over here, but the plate is straight. Now, when I'm doing a panorama, if I would rotate the camera like this, it would not be okay. But because this plate over here is straight, I can do something like this. Do you think you found the perfect way to photograph the landscape? Well, I have a different approach lately, and that is to photograph more panoramas than single shots. And the more I photograph panoramas, the more I think they look a lot better than single shots. In this video, I'm going to very quickly give you the reasons I think panoramas are better than single shots. And very quickly, I will give you the tips for photographing panoramas. Let's not make this video longer than it has to be. The first reason is you have a better perception of space. You have a better realization of size, proportion, and perspective. And if you look at these photos right now, you will understand that a single shot represents the landscape in a very good way, but a panorama gives you the feeling that you are there, and especially if you're going to print them large, it's going to look a lot better. The second reason is you get a really high resolution. Because you have multiple photos stacked together, of course, you get a really high resolution. And reason number three, thanks to that high resolution, the image becomes very versatile. If you sell it on stock, it's going to sell a lot better than the single version. You can use it as a wide banner. You can crop it to the size you want, and you can also get the feeling of that single shot. So you have multiple ways in which you can use the image. And now let's move quickly to the tips that I have for you. The first tip is always shot in portrait mode with your camera, never in landscape format. The second tip is to photograph above 35mm angle. This reduces problems when stitching the panorama. Tip number three, use a close aperture. I use f11. And the reason for that is because I'm moving the camera to the left and to the right, and I want everything to be in focus. With a panorama, if you have a shallow depth of field, it looks kind of strange to have only some elements in focus and all the other elements out of focus. Tip number four, focus only once, and that is in the middle of your panorama. Because of this, I have my trigger button set only on exposure evaluation. It doesn't do the focus. I do the focusing on my photos with a button that is located at the back of the camera. Tip number five, overlap 1/3 of the shot with another. This way you make sure that the stitching will be perfect. Tip number six, use a sign to know when the panorama starts and when the panorama ends. I use 3 fingers like this when the panorama starts and 3 fingers like this when the panorama ends. This is how I know that the sequence of photos between these two signs form a panorama. When you're photographing lots of panoramas, you're going to find it difficult to know where one begins and one other ends. And also, if you're photographing for multiple days and you also take single shots, it becomes difficult to know where the panoramas are. But this, when I'm seeing this, it pops to my attention that, okay, over there I have a panorama. Tip number 7, and the last tip, is to avoid moving elements. If it's windy, for example, it will not work very well for the stitching. Depends on how windy it is, but if it's really windy and the entire tree is moving or large elements are moving, if there is an element that crosses the frame, again, you will get things that are not that that will not work well with the stitching. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a short video, but I think you learn some things from it. If you want to learn more about landscape photography, you can go on my website. I have a link in the description of this video, and over there you can find my ebook or my photo tours/workshops from 2025 and even 2026. So until next time, keep on photographing, and it's the only way that you can get better. Bye-bye.